Hello and welcome to Retro Reviews, my channel where I review my favorite retro video games of all time as well as some modern releases I have recently finished. First and foremost, thank you for the official 200 subscribers on this channel. I am so grateful. And for getting my Nintendo video on emulation over 1,000 views. Honestly means so much to me to get my first 1K video. It's really cool to see that on my channel. So thank you so much. I really truly appreciate it. Today I want to talk about another modern game, a sequel actually to a game I reviewed 2 days ago. That is Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair. Now this game is very different for a sequel. Most people, when they expected Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair as announced, they thought it'd be like another 3D platformer, maybe with some improved mechanics and hopefully a much better game overall. But instead they kind of went a different direction with spiritually successing another franchise, whereas the 3D Yooka-Laylee was successor to Banjo-Kazooie and like Donkey Kong 64. This one was going to be a successor to like the Donkey Kong Country series as a 2D platformer. And let me tell you, this game works substantially better as a 2D platformer than it ever did as a 3D platformer. I finally got around to playing this game just a year ago or so, and I had an absolute blast. This game is so hard and so much fun at the same time. It definitely feels like a platformer from like the Super Nintendo era cranked up to 11. This is one of the hardest platformers I have ever attempted. And part of the reason is because of the Impossible Lair, the main moniker, the title problem here that we're going after. At the very beginning of the game, you have Capital B, who I erroneously called King B in the other video, forgive me for that one. Capital B is trying to take over again, and he constructs the Impossible Lair. And you have to try and beat it at the very beginning of the game without any help from anything. You have no power-ups, you have no anything at all. And what you have to do to get through the Impossible Lair is scale like a, oh man, how long is it? It's like a 8-minute like platforming hellscape that you have to get through to make it to then a big old 3-round boss fight that is absolutely ridiculous without getting hit more than once, I believe, since you get the extra hit with Laylee. It is so ridiculously hard at the very beginning. It poses this impossible problem in front of you and then tells you, hey, if you beat this game, if you go through each and every one of these levels and restore the little bees, the little helpful bees that you can get throughout the world, they will give you a shield. Each one is one extra hit in the Impossible Lair. I can't exactly remember how many you can get. I should have done that right before I did this video. I think it's 40, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it's 30. It's a lot. You can get a lot of these little bees to give you another hit for the Impossible Lair. And you will likely need every single one of them if you want to beat this game. It is so ridiculously hard when you finally get back to the Impossible Lair. Let's go back a little bit and go back to the main gameplay here. This is a 2D platformer with a little overworld that's like a top-down 3D type area, which is really cool to explore. It has little puzzles that you can solve to unlock new areas. You actually have another mechanic, kind of like how Yooka-Laylee had the mechanic when you got enough pages, you can expand a world and make it bigger and do some more stuff in there. This one has a similar mechanic, but it's a little bit different. You can utilize certain things like using the fruit. You can freeze a water level and turn it into ice, which is really cool. It makes the level completely different from how you experienced it the first time around. And most of these levels have these variants as well. It's really fantastic. It's a brilliant idea to be going back and revisiting these levels, but exploring a whole new avenue. You'll see areas where like, I can't get up there. Why can't I get up there? There's nothing I can do, no abilities I have that gets me up to this spot. Well, it's because you needed to have a variant version of the level to get to those areas. It's brilliant. It's genius. Throughout the entire game, you find these, and they'll get like little secrets unlocking throughout the overworld, so you can get these variant levels, and it's so much fun to explore. The overworld is really charming and beautiful, and I like that they have this random like top-down version of Yooka-Laylee that you get to do little puzzles and stuff. I think it's really brilliantly done. And each of the levels is well crafted as well. Like I said previously, most of the levels are pretty difficult. Everything feels tighter as well control-wise. It doesn't feel anything like Yooka-Laylee. My criticisms of that was mechanically it did not feel good at all. Everything feels weighty and really solid in this game. They really did their very best to make this game as fantastically control-wise as possible because they had so many criticisms with it mechanically in Yooka-Laylee. This one, yeah, solves all those problems. The levels are well crafted. When you get to like boss fight areas, they're so much better than they were in Yooka-Laylee. I think the 2D realm just fits the characters a lot better. You still have the quippy lines, you still have fun characters, you still have secrets to find in the world. It just meshes better together, mostly because of the mechanics. I just really like the direction they took with this game, because I think going for a sequel for 3D Yooka-Laylee would have been a challenge, because I don't think a lot of people would have been on board because of how disconnected they were from the original. But I think going this direction and doing a 2D platformer where clearly they have some expertise because they crafted it so well was a really strong move. One that was very unexpected as well. I think that got people more interested in the project. As you get toward the end of the game, you find all sorts of difficult levels. They get really, really challenging throughout. They're challenging leading up to the final worlds and everything, but they are so hellishly difficult when you get to the end. And then once you finally unlock as many of these bees as you can, and to do that you're gonna have to find all the secrets in the overworld, do everything you possibly can to like get yourself as many hits as possible. Once you finally get them all, you can go attempt the Impossible Lair again. But that's not to say you can't do it in the meantime. You actually can at any point go attempt the Impossible Lair with as many bees as you want, or with none. There's actually one tonic. I didn't talk about tonics in Yooka-Laylee. They're like little enhancers that change the gameplay a little bit. They give you like little things that you can do. Sometimes it's just visual, sometimes it gives you extra mechanic. It's a cool idea, and they're just little secrets. They're fun to find, and they can improve the gameplay in certain ways or make it more interesting and fun. So you can get these tonics, but one is locked behind beating the Impossible Lair without taking in any of the bees, which is just, I cannot even imagine doing this myself. Fortunately, that is the only tonic not tied to a trophy. Everything else is just fully completing the game, finding all the secrets, doing everything that you can, minus doing this impossible task. I know some people have done it on the internet, but man, I don't think it's worth it at all, especially since it's not attached to a trophy for me. If it had, I would not have gone for full completion on this game. 100% not. And even with that not being part, full completion is so difficult. But it's one of the most rewarding platinum trophies I've ever gotten. The Impossible Lair is so difficult, even with every single bee unlocked. Like I said, I believe it's 40 additional hits. That's how many it took me to get to the very end, and it still took me probably 10-20 tries of having this many resources. It will checkpoint your progress. Like I think when you get to like the first boss fight, it will like checkpoint you up to that point, but it'll also checkpoint how many bees you lost. So you're incentivized to go back and start it over from the beginning and save as many as you can, take as few hits as possible. You will have to learn this layer like the back of your hand, because if not, you're not going to have as many shields as you need to finally beat capital B. But when you do, I remember freaking out. I was so excited that I finally beat this terrible boss here. It was phenomenal. I think they could not have crafted a better 2D platformer if they tried. It is exactly what you expect out of like an old rare 2D platformer. It's fantastic. I don't know if it's the most accessible game. Some of the levels are not my favorite. I don't think the mechanics, like some of the extra abilities and stuff, are my favorites overall, but I'm just nitpicking at this point, honestly. This is a really tight game with great controls. It feels infinitely better than the original Yooka-Laylee did. I think it just works so well as a 2D platformer. I think this is a nice revitalization of the genre too. I don't know if it's quite a platinum rank for me. Despite all the praise I've given it, I don't know if it's quite there. It is exceptionally good. It's really solid. I think if they made a sequel to this game and improved upon it and made it even tighter with just maybe a little more variety in the mechanics, maybe this would be a platinum rank game. But for me, I'm going to leave Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair at a very high gold rank. I really enjoyed it. The biggest hurdle for me is how difficult it can be. It's not the most accessible or like recommendable game to a lot of people. And if you didn't play the original Yooka-Laylee, you might not care about these characters at all. But it's also a nice jumping point as well. You don't need to play Yooka-Laylee, the 3D one. It gives you a little bit of backstory on what they did in that game at the very beginning, and then you just move forward from there. So you don't necessarily need it. But I'm going to be giving it a gold ranking and say that I just really enjoyed it. If you like brutally difficult platformers, you will as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.